All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Of course, I have to make sure that we're live over on Rumble as well. Got a lot of news to cover today. Right now, we can't do Pixel Planet because it's down for maintenance. They decided to move the Fibonacci's to, I don't know whether they're moving him to East Africa / the Arabian Peninsula or the middle of the ocean. I'm not sure exactly what's happening with that, but they have absconded from West Africa and we've annexed it all. And I'm thinking about a new and larger Ouroboros there potentially. So we'll be getting into that. I guess I'll have the link open, refresh it occasionally, and see what's happening. I don't know. Anyway, we'll make sure that we're live on Rumble. I believe so. Yes, indeed, we're live on Rumble. Vermont Power on Rumble. Good morning from Vermont. Fellow Rumbler. From my home state. That's what I'm talking about. We need to get more New Englanders involved with new tech. You get the Free State going over in New Hampshire. We should have something similar in the state of Vermont. I think that maybe we should have like the hardcore ANCAP should absorb New Hampshire, and maybe classical liberals should move into Vermont or something to prevent that from going to hell. I mean, Vegas is already going to hell, but, we can probably stop it if we try. Honestly, I don't know why the Free State movement didn't decide to focus on Vermont, considering its population is about half that of New Hampshire. I'm not exactly sure why. Anyway, we're live, so we'll get into some news in a moment here. Again, we will be building a big new Ouroboros and clanking in West Africa on Pixel Planet, but they're down right now. I'll refresh it a few times throughout the stream. It says we are under maintenance. Be back soon, 30 minutes or so. We'll see if that's actually the case as well. If 30 minutes usually means an hour, so we might not get to it in the stream. We've got our first major news story today. AP Fact Check and other so-called fact checkers doing a little bit of damage control right now. Vice President Kamala Harris spoke at a DNC event about distributing equitable resources to help with the effects of climate change. She did not say that Hurricane Ian relief will be distributed based on race, as some claimed online. A couple days belated, number one for your fact checking here, at least as far as the trending goes. Twitter, I guess, decided to artificially amplify this because people weren't getting the fake memo. Let's be clear about what Kamala Harris was discussing. She was specifically referring to Hurricane Ian relief. In the context, a normal, rational person would assume that her statements with regards to equity had something to do with race or other divisions between people. A reasonable person would construe it that way. I made a video on the subject, mentioned it in the other day's live stream. She quite clearly was claiming that relief related to climate change, which they're tying Hurricane Ian into, would be at least partially based on race, helping marginalized communities, basically affirmative action for inflationary spending. And here's the thing. If think of it as a Venn diagram. Hurricane Ian is entirely subjugate to climate change in her mind, and climate change in general is subjugate to the concept of equity for climate change damage. Where does Hurricane Ian fall? You could drop a fucking Venn diagram of this. You don't even need the weird overlaps or anything like this. It's clear based on the content of her statement, based on the context. And there's a huge ratio on this, by the way, just to be clear. The fact checkers are wrong. She was explicitly stating that hurricane relief, at least in the broader sense, not necessarily in the individual sense for the particular hurricane she was referring to, would be partially based on equity. Well, there you go. The fact check is wrong. Again, it's all about linguistics. Realize what is subjugate within a statement to other things within that statement, and you can parse things apart more easily. Second Amendment follows along the same line. Of course, the right of the people to keep and bear arms is separate. It's not subjugate to the concept of a militia. Whatever you choose to define that as, that's perfectly fine. Linguistics. It's a great way to scramble people's minds. I love how this is ratioed, though. People are seeing through the bullshit. Mopey Hornet, hey Sticks, you've said Democrats need a better candidate for the presidency against Trump. Would a blue dog Democrat give Trump a better challenge? Yes, I think there are several standout potential candidates, although I think that most of them wouldn't have a chance. Pete Buttigieg is on the top of the list as far as people likely to run. Joe Kennedy, I think, is their strongest potential candidate. I don't think that they will run him, but he does have the necessary requisites to actually do it. I've spoken before about the fact that he can tie things in to a refutation of the far left within the Democratic Party, which is they're losing independent voters because they keep whining and dining the AOC types. If they stop doing that, they can get independent voters. Joe Kennedy could make that happen because he got knocked out by an Occupy Democrat. Well, quite clearly, he can say, well, there are some within our party that don't want to negotiate and want to go far left. The American people are not receptive towards socialism. I stand for something different. I stand for a consensus of reality that independent voters can actually enjoy. You'd probably get some fucking Republicans voting for him. Whether the Democrats are smart enough to run him in the future remains to be seen. Civic nationalism, 1776. Risking war with Russia is insane. But is Russia insane enough to use nuclear weapons? If they do, the successor states will be pariahs post-atomic era. Yeah, agreed. I don't think that Putin is crazy enough to deploy tactical nukes for no reason, but we'll see. We don't know at this point, I guess. The baby upstairs is definitely having a fun time. Pete Buttigieg. Yes, Pete Buttigieg, ironically, one of the front runners for a potential 2024 run. Transport secretary with a limited experience as a mayor of South Bend, which is even more hilarious than him running trains as transport secretary. Every meme possible is falling into line, and people would definitely meme it up. They'd be called homophobic for doing so, but they wouldn't care. And yes, the cat is definitely spoiled. This is Iana, and she attacked her sister several times in the last hour or so. I'm trying to keep her pacified here, and she is still shedding. You're not supposed to do that when winter is approaching. You are crazy. Yes, you are. Maybe she'll speak. Hey, yes, I say. There we go. I knew that my co-host had something to say. So yeah, Kamala Harris is, they're circling the wagons around her big time. I'm not surprised, number one, because the legacy media works with the Biden administration. Number two, because they desperately want to defend the administration because they got a good grift going. But Kamala Harris is indefensible. She is a racist. She is a bigot. She's a prick. She is everything wrong with that particular liberal component of U.S. politics. Ironically, she's also a tough-on-crimer, just like her good buddy Joe, and helped put a lot of black people into prison for having, an ounce of marijuana on them. But she's woke. She's progressive. These people eat her shit on a regular basis. Next news story. Inside the White House's failed effort to dissuade OPEC from cutting oil production to avoid a total disaster. That is apparently the words of the administration itself. Yes, OPEC Plus has announced that it's going to reduce oil output by about 2 million barrels per day. This is fairly steep. This is at a time where the United States is not really doing the drill, baby, drill thing. Gas, oil, coal, they're all under attack by the Joe Biden administration. He's making a mistake that his mentor, Barack Obama, did not make. Let me try to explain. We've got the solar panel EV grift, which is the same as Solyndra and aspects of Shovel Ready. So that's the same. There's no difference between the Biden administration, the stewardship rather, and the Obama administration on that. What did Obama do towards the last couple years of his presidency? The green energy lobby begged him over and over, please stop drilling the oil. Please stop fracking. Please stop allowing the extraction of U.S. energy resources, gas, and so forth. Do more to stop that. And Obama, very wisely, for economic and political reasons, said, no, I'm not going to do that. He effectively ignored them and opened up more oil leases, more land for drilling. It was one of the few things that Obama did during his presidency that, number one, made sense, number two, was successful, ironically acting as a far-right Republican in the process of doing so. Biden didn't get the memo. Biden is still doing the EV and solar panel grift, which is literally what it is. It's hundreds of billions of taxpayer dollars that will effectively be shoveled into the pockets of the donor class and of people that are close to the administration. It's not going to produce long-term jobs. It's not going to help the economy. It's not going to help the environment or anything like that. It's bullshit. But he's also attacking the actual energy industry. The U.S. has a great deal of gas, a great deal of oil, a great deal of coal. We were energy independent for a couple of years under Trump. We're capable of doing that within a couple of years now if we were to reverse course on his shitty policies. But he won't do that. No, he didn't get them out. He's convinced, and this shows that Joe Biden is much more stupid than Barack Obama. He believes that getting the nouveau left of the Zoomer generation on board is more than a counterbalance for hemorrhaging support from union Dems and from independent voters that would lean towards them but have problems with the energy policy. The problem is it's all tied in with the economy, and that's the main issue going into the midterms. Biden is making a massive calculated error. On the OPEC issue, the Joe Biden administration spent goddamn months lobbying them not to throttle the production. The gas prices come down some, and they say, why would we pump it out of the ground? We can make more by not pumping. We'll just make artificial scarcity. We'll make lots of money. The U.S. won't because they're not open for business. The U.S. isn't doing the pumping thing. So the U.S. is not open for business. The gas isn't coming out. The oil's not coming out. The refineries are all stymied. The permitting process is backlogged. Biden is destroying his own nation's energy industry. Now is the time to throttle back and put pressure on the United States. And they'll probably amp up production at some point. But they'll require certain concessions by the United States. Like maybe the United States doesn't say too much about the Saudis continuing to kill Yemeni people or something like that. They'll get them too. The Biden administration is weak on foreign policy. Hismanai, happy clank. Hello. Yes, we're clanking all day here and always shall be. Just a second here. Let me check my tabs. Yeah, so Biden, I'll just read a little bit of this verbatim. Washington, CNN. This is CNN reporting, by the way. They're crushing his skull too politically. The Biden admin launched a full-scale pressure campaign in a last-ditch effort to dissuade Middle Eastern allies from dramatically cutting oil production. We use the term allies very loosely in this. According to multiple sources familiar with the matter, well, that's the litmus test. It obviously is true because sources that are familiar with the matter said so. Could be bullshit, but I actually believe it this time. That effort appears to have failed following Wednesday's crucial meeting of OPEC+, the international cartel of oil producers. That, as expected, announced a significant cut to output in an effort to raise oil prices. That, in turn, will likely cause U.S. gasoline prices to rise at a precarious time for the Biden admin, just 5 weeks before the midterm elections. Normally, if you see something like this, you know that those individuals are trying to screw with your election by fucking your economy, by blindsiding it. These people love the fact that Joe Biden is in power. The fact that he is weak, feckless, doesn't know what he's doing. He's got no self-awareness whatsoever. He's got no awareness of the economy or foreign policy. That works well for the Saudi Arabians and for all of the other countries within OPEC+. They love the fact that Biden's in office. I don't think they're doing it to screw with the midterms. I think they carefully timed this so that the main effect would happen after the midterms. Oh, you can look forward to the gas prices probably getting higher than they were before during lockdownerism. You will see it. Civic nationalism, 1776. With Twitter potentially purging bots because of Elon and Facebook failing, losing money and employees, what does that say for YouTube in the future? It is generally better run than anything that Zuckerberg is doing, and it's certainly better run than Twitter. That being said, it is being embattled in short-form video by TikTok and in long-form video and streaming by Rumble and to an extent by Twitch. YouTube now actually has competitors. Smoo Johnson, hey Sticks, have you ever bought a lottery ticket before? No, I don't know that I did. I think I got one for my 18th birthday, and of course, I didn't win anything. But no, I'm not into lottery and shit like that. It's a waste of money. Now we've got big news on, speaking of YouTube, on the home front of tech. Nick Rekeita has had his Twitter suspended, and now his YouTube channel is terminated. Mass targeting started by a specific transgender person. I think you all know who that is. It's not just Nick. Her and her supporters are trying to deplatform. Yeah, mission creep by the Keffels crowd, I suppose. And there are some people unwisely celebrating this as though it's some sort of great victory because they happen not to like Nick Rekeita. I condemn this. He should be restored. It's quite clear that, and I'm speaking on YouTube right now at almost 2,000 people, sharing out publicly available material with or without actual names of people that have attempted to file suit, of people that are complaining about you in one way or the other, is not doxing. Doxing is against YouTube's rules. Doxing is the release of private information, not public information. This is like saying that on YouTube, you shouldn't be able to say, hey, such and such a YouTuber has a criminal history. Here's the page where, 5 years ago, they assaulted somebody with a broken wine bottle. That's not doxing. It's publicly available. It's public record. YouTube should stick to its own TOS on this. They did this because the outrage mob came and bleated very loudly, just like it did with Kiwi Farms. Again, you don't need to be a fan of fucking Kiwi Farms. I know that I personally am not, and I think that Josh Moon is nuts. That doesn't mean that the site should be deplatformed because people complain about 2 or 3 instances on the site where somebody posted material there that could potentially be problematic. Let law enforcement look into it. If they think that somebody is making credible terroristic threats or something, let law enforcement do that. Big tech doesn't need to be involved. We've seen this over and over again. We saw this with Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse was banned from raising money on GoFundMe. The trial hadn't even started yet. Well, he killed several people. He's not allowed to raise money. Only his lawyers had to get on and get a fucking page going. Meanwhile, the pedophile that he shot was allowed to raise money. That doesn't seem that seems a little bit strange. A person draws a gun on another person in a public place, and, the shooting of that individual was ruled justified. They're allowed to raise money, but Kyle Rittenhouse is a real big problem. And so with the Nick Rekeita thing, it's just another small step into YouTube fucking itself in the ass. He's already got a Rumble channel. You can look him up. He's already on Odyssey. He's already on Locals. He's already every fucking where else. He's got a huge goddamn audience. And he was targeted mainly because he was successful. He was getting enormous numbers of people on his live streams and making, by the way, huge amounts of money by broadcasting about legal events, trial reactions mainly. I didn't see anything that was against TOS. I didn't see any doxing. I didn't see anything problematic. He's not using hate speech or anything like that. Even if you dumbed down the TOS, he wouldn't have violated them. Princess, no notification from YouTube again today. That's why I'm trying to stick with a schedule, because it's just easier for everyone. Daniel, show me the man and I'll show you the crime. Rekeita was targeted because he is effective. That is his only crime and why he is a threat. Agreed. Leftoids have realized that if they false flag a person enough, sometimes they get taken down. They usually get restored thereafter, and it's not really largely helpful for, their ideological movement, but then they gain clout. They think it's a great thing, they get attention from it. Keffels is trying to get attention, in my opinion, more than anything else. It's not even really about ideology. It's about fucking clout. This is the way these losers operate. Adam THM, how come you haven't been doing too many spooky videos this month, Sticks? I kind of miss them. I do have a docket of occult videos that I want to work through, and I'll get to them, but there's been so much news that I have to cover. A huge amount of it. So yeah, I condemn the removal of Nick Rekeita, apparently under doxing-related rules, which literally never happened. There was no doxing. There was publicly available. Is YouTube going to claim that publicly available information that relates to an individual, regardless of any other circumstances, is now a form of doxing? That would be really, really difficult. How are creators supposed to criticize one another? Oh shit, you mentioned another user's username that identifies them, and you said, oh, well, they're from California, so they're dumb. Well, that identifies their location. You're doxing them. Apparently, YouTube believes this to be the case. And keep in mind, YouTube is one of the more mild platforms when it comes to this kind of horseshit. It's way better than Twitter or Facebook or the Crapple store or something like that. Apparently, they're going to make that argument. Doxing is now releasing publicly available information. Although they did that before, I can't remember what's his name. You know, there was that one individual you weren't allowed to mention on YouTube for a while there. I can't actually remember his name. It was a couple of years ago, involved with some of the Biden's corruption, if I remember correctly. Somebody can post the name in the comments if you don't mind being banned, I suppose. Who knows if it's even allowed on the platform? Their TOS keep changing every day. Huns with Guns, Lucas Roberts. No, it wasn't that. I know that's not the name. It was something else. I don't know. I'm talking out my ass at this point. Next news story. Court declares DACA illegal. Leaves policy intact for current enrollees. Oh, yes. Eric Ciaramella. I think you can mention him now. That was verified finally. It wasn't doxing again. It's publicly available shit. A federal appeals court on Wednesday said the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA policy, violates U.S. immigration law, dealing a blow to an Obama-era program that provides deportation protection and work permits to nearly 600,000 immigrant dreamers who lack legal status. They're illegal immigrants. They're in violation of U.S. law. Obama illegally decided to shield these people. I don't know why the Fifth Circuit even grandfathered in the concept of continuing to protect these individuals when they simply are in the country illegally. It doesn't matter what story you feed me about somebody being an asset to society. Okay, they've built a family, in which case they can possibly get legal status, by the way, if they've had a kid or something or gotten married. They've built a family. They're running a semi-legal business or something. They work really hard. I have sympathy for these individuals, great deal of sympathy. And many of them, under a reformed Immigration Act, would be able to come into the country legally because you would have streamlined the process for people who clearly aren't a threat and clearly wish to assimilate. But that's not all of the people that are covered under this act. I don't even know why they grandfathered it in. The appeals court did not order the Biden admin to shut down DACA completely or stop processing renewal applications, deciding instead to leave in place an order from U.S. Judge Andrew Hannon that left the policy intact for current beneficiaries. The government, however, will continue to be prohibited from approving first-time DACA applicants. So DACA is effectively dead, which is the good news. But there will be future cases with regards to those that are already illegally in the country, shielded by it anyway. That's the bad news. So DACA has been dealt a blow, but it's a half-hearted one. Blaze, Sticks, you based motherfucker, censored. When you get a P.O. box and are in the U.S. again, expect a mixed pack of my jerky. Do you remember me mentioning this months ago? Yes, I remember the jerky offer. I will eat the jerky. Please promise not to try to poison me. It'd be funny if some leftoid posed as a clanker and then sent me something with botulism in it or something. I'm a little bit of a germaphobe when it comes to food items. I will inspect it thoroughly. I will inspect your beef jerky or elk or pig or whatever the hell it's made of. By the way, gator jerky, really actually very good. I don't understand why some people don't like the idea of it. I guess they get weirded out because they're eating a lizard. Lizards are tasty. It's sort of like eating dragon meat. Just chop its fucking head off and turn it into jerky and eat the fucking gator. It's a water dragon. Elon Musk, here's my surprise. Welcome to Styx Hexen Twitter. Yes, Styx inspects meat. I am the meat inspector. Symbolic belief. Is it possible for Trump to undo all the damage? He can try. Give him a good House and Senate, and he'll make a lot more progress than in his first term. I really do want to see a second term of Trump. It must be Trump. Going Grover Cleveland mode would be the greatest thing ever. Can you imagine the ultimate comeback kid story is something that I don't think that we should deny to future generations. They will be studying about it. And it'll be sort of like the ancient Roman emperors, how they sort of tried to destroy all memory of some of them. And when we look back into historical records and stuff, oftentimes we realize it wasn't really the Roman people that disliked them. It was the Roman elite. It was the scribes and people who wrote down the historical records, and not the people who made the statues, but the people who financed the statues. Those people turned on the emperor, didn't like them, and so defamed them after they died, or in some cases when they were still in rule. Meanwhile, individuals that were not well liked by the people, their statues are still there. It's sort of the case with Donald Trump. Now, they're going to try to do that to him, by the way. When he dies, and someday he will, hopefully after his second term is over, they will try to prevent any Trump statues. They will try to black his name out of history or associate him just with being an agent of evil. It doesn't matter that a significant proportion of the population actually likes him. It will be the patrician class. It will be the donor class that decides that there shouldn't be a Trump presidential library. Well, every other president has one, but we're uncomfortable with this because, we just have to fill it with copy after copy of the Turner Diaries because he's a Nazi. You watch and see. I will be right on that prediction too. You'll live to see it. Princess Sticks brokered peace with the Turks. Now for Russia. Yeah, I guess they should call me in for the peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. I think I'd do a better job than anyone else there. If you can get people on Pixel Planet to stand down and agree with one another, it's probably more complex than politics in some parts of the world. Established Lord Fred of Dankytown. Rekeita has strong feelings about wood chippers and members of the Love is Love community on 2 a.m. live streams. It was only a matter of time. Yeah, he never threatened anyone. The idea he threatened to have me lined up against a wall and shot. Now, I didn't see that. That's not exactly how it went. No, it was doxing, but it's not really doxing. That's why he got banned. It was on a stream. He's showing people basic information that's publicly available about third parties. All of a sudden, that's a big problem. Dude, everyone on YouTube does that shit. I've talked about Jared Holt before. Dude, I know his fucking home address and shit like that. I've never posted it online, but I have it. But if I just talk shit about Jared Holt and say, oh, he's working for the Atlantic Council, that's not doxing. He's listed on the fucking website. You can Google it. That has nothing to do with his dox. Ultramaga721. I wonder how many hard criminals that Venezuela is purging from their prisons will end up in Dem-controlled cities. Remember the Cuban boat people prison mental hospital purge during the 80s? Yeah, well, the Dem-controlled cities deserve it. Let them languish. I have no problem with that situation. If they want a bunch of murderers and thieves and stuff to pour into their cities, that's okay with me. Just as long as we wall those cities off. Next news story. Oh, yes, Biden's sundown moment. I talked about this morning. Yes, Dark Brandon rising. I call him Dork Brandon. No, I did not originate that term, but, I'm going to try to promulgate it because it is pretty funny. I don't know when the first usage of Dork Brandon comes from. I think it's many, many moons ago. Here's what happened. Joe Biden goes over to Florida, ostensibly to talk about hurricane relief. Makes it into a political shit show, which we all knew that he was going to do anyway. The leftoids on Twitter are crowing about this right now. And he says, no one fucks with a Biden to the mayor there actually in Florida. This is, can you imagine if Trump had said this and it was a hot mic moment, people knew that Trump had said, no one fucks with a Trump. It would be taken as hyper aggressive. It's his toxic masculinity. It's unpresidential. How dare he say the F word? Oh my God, children will see this clip and they'll think that it's okay to say fuck because they saw Trump say it. With Biden, those same individuals that would have a big problem with it if it were anyone else, all of a sudden they say, oh, look here, how humorous he is. What a strong, empowered old man. He's basically like a Top Gun or something like that with his aviators and shit like that. And so they've got Dark Brandon trending right now. It's not Dark Brandon, it's Dork Brandon. He didn't do this on purpose. This is a hot mic moment. He got caught on a mic saying fuck because he's just old and unhinged. He's demented. The man's off his rocker. I don't care about whether it's unpresidential because those standards change all the time. But he didn't do this even to be a tough guy. He just dropped the F-bomb because he was lackadaisical with his language control. Yolt Nick. Hello, Nick. Tarl, my brother, did you see Biden's apology to the family of the dead congressperson's family? Did you see Kanye's White Lives Matter shirt? I saw them both and thought they were both fucking hilarious. Yeah, I really like it. Jacobowski died, long before, and Biden goes to a celebration to commemorate a dead member of Congress and then asks if she's in the room. Hey, dead person, please stand up. That was great. And even got panned by the liberal media. That's how far beyond he went in that one. And yeah, Kanye, in my opinion, is trolling people. He's getting attention. I don't think that he actually really cares about the political side of BLM, White Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, and all that. I think it's more of a branding attempt because he knew that he'd get an extra 15 minutes of fame. He'd get more attention. He can sell a lot more Yeezys as long as he gets that attention. He's very good at it. I admire him for being able to do that. He's second only to Trump, I think, or maybe third to Elon Musk at this point, I suppose, in terms of this sort of thing. Yeah, I thought that was great. Silky Johnson, I miss when companies were money-grubbing whores. Nick brings a lot of water to YouTube. Lucas and his merry band of blue hairs don't bring anything. Yes, indeed. I can't remember how many subscribers Rekeita had, but his live streams were massively successful. BW, I think we are living in a horror story. Attack of the country snatchers. You think Dems are going to pack the court to keep from deciding Moore versus Harper? No, I don't think that they'll successfully pack the court, and I'll tell you why. They're going to lose the Senate after the midterms. Even if they didn't, they're not going to get enough votes in order to end the filibuster, which means you would need GOP members to suicidally agree to pack the Supreme Court. That's not going to happen. Plague Dr. Zach, he did 27,000 viewers last night on Rumble. That's some pretty good fucking numbers. He's more on that side of things. He does long form streaming. It's like sometimes I think I'm holding myself back by straddling the line because I really like the one-off video sort of 2000s millennial internet style of things. And I'm just a boomer at this point, so I refuse to let it go. But then I also do the live streaming. I've actually thought about lengthening the streams and dedicating more effort to them and branching out onto other platforms as well. Because it seems to be basically, unless you want to make Zoomer style short form videos, 30 seconds of dancing or some cringe shit like that on TikTok, it seems like you have to become a streamer now. I think I might be hampering myself slightly. I'm looking into this particular situation. B. Barber, proud to contribute to the Biden loser unit count. Yeah, how many BLUs are we at right now? Almost 3,000 on YouTube and more than 1,200 watching on Rumble. Yeah, so that's like, how many would that be? That'd be like 13, 14 Biden loser units. That's pretty great. Next news story. This is from the Dispatch. The anti-war rights misguided view of Putin. For many, he's simply an avatar for the wholesale critique of America. The idea behind this is that if you're anti-war, you're far right, like Ultra MAGA or something. So if you don't want to do World War III brinksmanship, if you don't want to potentially provoke a nuclear conflict, there's something wrong with you. It's interesting because the critique of that comes from a cabal of neoliberals and leftoids mainly, and also neocons. The Bush neocons at this point might as well change the letter after their name because they fit in better with today's Democratic Party. They have the legacy media on board, most of old tech, so Silicon Valley. They've got the rich donor class, all of which supported like the Koch brothers and shit. I expect them to register as Democrats any day now. MAGA is the odd man out. The concept of MAGA populism isn't non-interventionist. It's not pacifistic, but it's also anti-world policing. Isn't that what liberals were calling for literally throughout the entirety of the Bush administration? They seem to have forgotten their principles. I can remember it because I was one of them at the time. No more wars for oil. Just stop the madness. You're going to destroy the world. Fuck off. And rich people, stop funding the elections. Now, all of a sudden, you've got all the billionaires are funding a bunch of neolibs and neocons. They're trying to take out MAGA anywhere that they can. They don't like the leftoids either, although the leftoids aren't in on the joke. And it's just fucking hilarious because the same people that I would see marching down the street in Burlington back at the end of the 2000s at UVM, opposing drone strikes or opposing the war or whatever, probably now they have a Biden 2024 bumper sticker and they have a fuck Russia bumper sticker right next to it. Yeah, kill them. Yeah, let's have the nuclear war out. The time to have a nuclear war was back in the 1950s when we had the chance of surviving it. These people didn't get the memo. It's really, really funny. To be anti-war is now a far-right position, I suppose. It used to be that it was a far-left position. I remember getting called a fucking commie back in like 2007. My first sort of thing online was Facebook. I had anti-war Facebook groups. That was the main thing that I was doing in that year. Anti-war groups. Thousands of people, by the way, following them at the time. And that's nothing to shake a stick at back in old wave mid-2000s Facebook. It took a bit of effort. In fact, I think one of them had 12,000 users at one point. That's pretty big considering the time period. The internet was a lot more empty at the time. And I would get called a commie. I'd have some Bush fan or some McCain fan later, some Republican saying that I was a pinko, I was a commie, I was unpatriotic. How dare you oppose the war effort? Don't you know that if Saddam Hussein isn't killed right now, he's going to nuke us or something? Don't you want to go and kill Osama? You must love 9/11. I got fed this shit by neocons at the time. Now I see the same thing from liberals, so-called. They're saying the same shit. Oh my God, you must be ultra MAGA. Well, I mean, I am, but you know, that's okay. You're an extremist. You suck Trump's cock. You want to eat his poo-poo and stuff. And they always make poop references for some reason. It's like at least the ND6 poop references are funny. You must be far right. You're a Putin enthusiast. You want to nuke the world. You hate Ukrainians. You hate Europeans, which is funny considering my current geographic location. You want another Iron Curtain. And you still get the commie references too, because it's like post-Soviet Russia. And so bizarrely, people who are on the left wing of the economic spectrum are criticizing others for being, I guess, Soviet sympathizers or tankies. Meanwhile, they also will talk about Nazis despite the fact that the ultra-nationalist Azov faction is Ukrainian. It's really goddamn confusing. I don't know what's going on half the time. Princess, Styx is a boomer. Stop, you're making Gen X old. Musically assured destruction. I really believe the pro-war anti-Putin sentiment is just a proxy by leftoids and globaloids to hate Trump. Change my mind. Part of it is. Trump derangement syndrome goes deep. BW, I figured that the Republicans may have pissed Manchin off, and these same people wanting nuclear war are the same people whining about the environment. Yeah, it'll be good for the environment when all the humans are gone. I guess reforestation efforts won't require any particular effort. There'll just be trees. I mean, they'll glow in the dark, but there will be trees everywhere within 10 years. I guess maybe that's their goal. Huns with guns, Rage Against the Machine will probably make a song supporting a war against Russia. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. They sold out long ago. Is Pixel Planet back up yet? Yeah, okay. Just a second here. I'm trying to see what's happening over here in West Africa. Yeah, it looks like we are going to be able to annex everything up to Morocco. We still need a big, beautiful wall around Clankdom on Pixel Planet. Link in the description on both platforms as well as in chat if you're on YouTube. These specific coordinates will take you to an area right above the blue clankers thing. And I'm thinking a huge Ouroboros right above it, like about 4 times the size of the one that's next to spawn. That would be imposing. It would show our domination of West Africa. It's funny because we're almost following the territorial guidelines of post-revolutionary France in their push for Africa. That you know, Algeria and all that shit. It's almost following the same exact area, which is pretty funny. So you can pixel in those areas that are empty there in Northwest Africa with the red and the yellow. I don't think that we have much in the way of repairs left, unless you want to go to spawn, because people literally log on, drop some pixels, and leave. So everything around spawn tends to be a mess, and it gives me massive OCD. I'll be checking in later there. And Turkey is still getting pounded, but keep in mind that we are at peace with Turkey on the server. Official peace accords signed by yours truly. Ultramaga 721. Styx, did you see the story about the Wisconsin National Guard being deployed to Africa? I guess we found some resources there we plan to take. What is it this time? Oil? Maybe. Diamonds? Possibly. Depends on the part of Africa, of course, that you're talking about. Guava fruit? Mangoes? We're very worried that mango prices are rising due to inflation. We must secure the future for ourselves and our mangoes. That'll be their next slogan for Biden's new interventionism. Next news story. Oh, okay. Senate Dems face a brutal 2024 map with at least 8 undecided incumbents. Yes, indeed. 2022 is shaping up to be difficult for the Democrats. They're going to lose the House. That much is clear. They are likely to lose a couple gubernatorial slots, especially with Arizona. Kerry Lake does still lead. It's close to 50-50 polling, but she has maintained a small lead the whole time. I think that'll go Republican. They're not going to win in Georgia. Stacey Abrams is being written off even by liberal networks now. They're not going to knock out Abbott. Beto's done. He will lose. They're not going to knock out DeSantis. Krista's lost. I'm just announcing that now. Near 100% chance of all these things coming true. It looks like they're having problems as well in other states. But in 2024, it's going to be far, far worse. Of the 33 Senate seats up for election next term, 23 are held by Democrats. That makes for a tough cycle, and it gets even harder if incumbents choose not to run. Apparently, a significant proportion of these individuals have not yet decided. I'll tell you why. They're waiting until after the midterms. If things get messy and the economy doesn't improve within the first couple of quarters of 2023, most of those people will stand down. They won't run again. You'll end up with the Democrats having not only a 2-to-1 disadvantage in the Senate race for 2024, you'll also have them lacking incumbent advantage in most of those races. They will get goddamn slaughtered. So in 2024, there's another reason to run Trump. If he wins, and I think that at the moment, with the economy the way it is, I think it'd be pretty easy for him to do so. He would have a Senate that's majority Republican by a considerable margin. You can afford to run MAGA candidates. You don't have to worry, can they actually win with their non-moderate platforms? Nobody cares about that anymore. You'll have a House that is sympathetic. You'll probably maintain a House majority after that anyway, despite the incoming party. I think that things would be fine. This doesn't point to good things for the Democratic Party. Effectively, they've got another month to accomplish whatever they want to do, and then they're probably going to have to sit it out for 6 years. Post midterms and Biden's term, he probably doesn't run again. 2024, the Republicans probably win the presidency back. They're still not going to be able to do much of what they want to do. You might as well get it done now because, for 6 years, we'll have some sanity within government, hopefully. My hope, of course, is that Donald Trump becomes president again. Failing that, someone that he's capable of endorsing. Rand Paul comes to mind. I would vote for him in a heartbeat. If DeSantis runs, I would vote for him. Not Ted Cruz. I probably wouldn't vote for Ted Cruz. I'm just, something about the man is a little bit off. Could it be his fixation on butter? Could it be his nonstop cringiness? Could it be the time he threw Rand Paul under the bus on NSA spying? No, I think that we've isolated the problem. Mike K. Sticks, how did you get the swastikas deleted? Mods, they decided to withdraw from our area in West Africa. It wasn't entirely clear. I don't know exactly where they're being put now. My understanding is that the mods took those pixels and they're going to replicate them elsewhere. So they'll be able to restore their windmill project, but I'm not sure where exactly it's going. I think East Africa and over Arabia, but I'm not 100% sure. I just told him, fuck, I was planning potential like Levant Egypt campaign, but there's so much to pixel in West Africa. Fuck it. We'll focus on that. The Michelangelo, no digital exploitation without social media representation. Consumerists are addicted to literally nothing but radio waves and synthetic minerals. I prefer natural minerals myself. Joey D45 on Rumble. For those non-pixelers, go to grifties.com and vote for the cats and sticks. Yes, you can also go to grifties.com. We are still in the running, although we've fallen far behind because I keep having to talk about fucking windmills and shit on Pixel Planet. Next news story. Beto O'Rourke is clueless. Here's his post from Twitter proving just that. Greg Abbott is the inflation governor. He has jacked up our energy bills by, wait for it, $45 a month to pay for his grid failure. Energy expert says Governor Abbott's claim of low energy prices in Texas is false, CBS Austin. So really unbiased there. Beto is complaining about Greg Abbott inflating the energy bills in Texas by $45 a month. What costs more than that? Well, gas. You probably pay more than $45 a month more than you were paying a year or two ago just because of Bidenflation. Home prices, food prices, literally everything under the sun. Here's his cluelessness. The problem is that he thinks this is some sort of kill shot. He's trying to tie him into the inflation rate. People do not blame their governors, even if they are in some cases partially culpable for their problems, for such things. They blame the federal government. over and over again, unless there is some glaring problem, some really unpopular policy that's been imposed at the state level, the federal government gets blamed. Now, Beto is not 100% wrong with regards to the way in which economics works, although Greg Abbott did stay out of this fray. Lockdownerism in the United States, which led to the economic problems we're currently experiencing, it's about 70% responsible for literally all the problems that are going on. We're gubernatorial. He's right about this. Here's the problem. Greg Abbott was one of the governors that never engaged in a hard lockdown. There was a very brief period where there was a soft lockdown there, and then he said, everyone, go about your business. Basically just taking a backseat to Kristi Noem and Ron DeSantis and a handful of others. Texas was largely open for business very quickly. It's not Greg Abbott's fault. You know why the energy prices are higher? Because energy prices are higher. Look at other states. I guarantee $45 a month. Talk to the Californians. Gavin Newsom, by the way, running ads against DeSantis and Abbott at the same time. Talk to the Californians. Talk to people in New York. Talk to people in the blue states. I guarantee it's more than $45 a month. $45 doesn't mean anything anymore. $45 is bullshit. It's basically the same as 10 cents was a couple of years ago because of runaway inflation. There's no inflation governor anyway, though. The Fed policy is not controlled by Austin. What the fuck are you talking about? This dude's fucking crazy as fuck. Totally silly. He doesn't know what's going on. I mean, the things, he knows what's going on. He knows that this is bullcrap. But he's just a cringe meister. The dude thinks that going to small town areas of Texas that haven't been visited in 100 years is somehow a huge win. The reason why he's avoiding urban areas is because nobody will show up. He'll get crowds that are 1/10 of those of his opponent or something like that. That's why he's doing that. He pretends that he just wants to talk to the normal people of Texas, the people least likely to vote for him because they're in rural and suburban areas, by the way. Midlife crisis dad strikes again. And he's been posting shit like this for months, by the way. I just haven't bothered to talk about it until now. Meanwhile, he's how far behind in the polls? I'll do a live fact check here. Let's go to RCP. We'll check the polling aggregate. Let's see. Where is the Texas race here? No, that's Florida. No, we don't care about that. We already know that DeSantis is going to win. Abbott. Okay. Texas governor. Abbott versus O'Rourke. The RCP average, Abbott, plus 8.6%. He's nearing the double-digit range. By the way, so is DeSantis and so is Kemp. I've talked about these big three. They're all going to be remaining Republican. Fakindaraj, a.k.a. Santa. Ghost isn't on board with Trump anymore. He's got that neocon take that Trump is politically toxic. By the way, butter is superior to margarine. Homemade butter, even better. Yeah, I don't use margarine. I prefer real butter. I agree with you. Yeah, I know a lot of people got off the Trump train because the Trump derangement syndrome propaganda has affected their minds. Alejandro Munaz, I heard yesterday Quebec's despot Legault, the same one who set the curfew on the province last year, won the state election by a lot. Silly French lemmings. Then complain no one respects them. LMAO. Yeah, Quebec is a little bit different than sane parts of the world. A lot of tourists from Quebec come to Vermont. They're known for being rude and not tipping, by the way. The Michelangelo, 430 plus electric bill last month in Southington, Connecticut. Jesus. It's pretty steep. Yeah, meanwhile, he's complaining about an extra $45 a month. Mikkelvo, hey Sticks, could we get rid of that huge Nazi flag slapped across the western part of the Czech Republic, the future owners of Kaliningrad area? Thanks. No, we're not attacking that one. Even the Turkish streamers had tried to grief it, and it gets repaired almost instantaneously. It's probably the most well-protected thing on Pixel Planet, to be clear. So I don't know. I mean, we'd need a massive alliance in order to grief it, and then it would just get repaired anyway. It'd be a waste of time. I'm more interested in building our own great wonders. And then the final news story, and a funny one. Dave Clips, which is Dave Rubin Clips. It's a parody page for Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin and Dennis Prager talk about the importance of bris, or I'm not sure how it's pronounced, religious male circumcision ceremony from a secular point of view. It's a crazy thing to do, but it's been happening for 4,000 years, so they must be doing something right. Yes, they apparently, Dave Rubin and Dennis Prager, and I thought that Rubin was listed as a libertarian. Maybe someone should explain the NAP to him. believe that young, infant males should have their genitals mutilated. I am an intactivist. As someone who is circumcised and suffered no repercussions from that, I do not believe in male genital mutilation. It's not necessary. It's not medically proper. There's usually no purpose behind it other than aesthetics, due to cultural convention, or due to religious superstition. If I don't chop off a part of my child's cock, they'll go to hell, effectively. It should be banned entirely. There should be absolutely no reason other than a medical reason for anything like that happening. Now, you do have cases. Someone's foreskin is particularly tight. It's causing infections or something. Well, then you have to address that. That's a medical practice. You do not need to remove the entire foreskin to do that, just to be clear. If you choose to do so as a measure and under certain circumstances, that's perfectly fine. But that would be like saying that because you found one person out of a million who got labial cancer, that you want to have clitorectomies on all female infants. I noticed that in the United States, there's no push to circumcise females, but there's a doppelganger for females. The material that directly surrounds the clitoris is sometimes circumcised from the clitoris in certain cultures around parts of the Middle East and Central Asia. We don't allow that. We call it mutilation. We say that it's not acceptable. It violates the rights of the child. Why then are you allowed to do that to a male who has nothing medically wrong with them? If they're older, if they're old enough to recognize, hey, the material doesn't grow back, I could get scarring, I could have infertility problems or something like that, that's perfectly fine. I wouldn't even say that it has to be capped at 18. If they're older and they understand it'll be painful, it'll be sore, whatever, and they're old enough to understand the basis of religiosity potentially, that's fine. You shouldn't be doing that to newborns. Who looks at their newborn son and the first thing that comes into their head is, look at that sinful wee-wee. I need to cut a piece of it off because otherwise God will be mad at me. That's fucking horseshit. It should be banned completely. And so shame on Dave Rubin for having such a non-libertarian position. Love to debate him on the subject, by the way. And trying to make a secular view of it. Dude, there aren't many places in the world where it's not connected to religion. Basically, you've got much of the Islamic world, although not all, Israel and Jewish communities, and that's it. The United States and South Korea are the only place, and the latter only for aesthetic purposes. I guess it's a cultural trend there too. The only places in the civilized world where circumcision is particularly common, with the exception of certain ethnic enclaves. It's obviously not medical necessity that's driving this. It's cultural necessity, so-called. Why do you think I was circumcised? I'm not Jewish. We don't follow Zionism in my household or something. Yeah. But it's because, basically, well, I'm circumcised, so my son should be circumcised. It's basically the idea. That tradition only goes back 4 or 5 generations, but back to the eugenics movement, to your great-grandparents, generally speaking. Before that, it wasn't common in the United States either. It still remains uncommon in most parts of Europe. I'm not cut up about it, but ultimately it should have been left up to me. And of course, I would have made the decision. Why the fuck would I bother doing that? Cindy Drellick, that amicus brief was hysterical. My first Onion experience was reading a piece called I Think We Should Fuck Other People, March of 2001, if you haven't seen that. I was hooked after that, but amicus was much funnier. Yeah, they've got a laundry list of hilarious shit that they've done. Yeah, I accidentally made a funny. I'm not cut up over the fact that I'm cut. It doesn't cause problems, but imagine I had been one of those, 1 out of 50 or 1 out of 100 people who had some significant scarring. What if it had led to erectile dysfunction? I'd be pretty disgruntled over that if I had that problem. It'd be a problem. And we're causing more harm than doing good. The rare occasion on which somebody is helped, they don't have phimosis anymore or something because they get circumcised, is counterbalanced more than 10 to 1 by people having scarring or some other problem. And in the religious ceremonies, dude, have you ever heard of a mole? Have you ever heard of the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community and what is included with circumcision among some of those molehills there? I probably can't even talk about it on YouTube. I'll probably get banned, but you can look it up for yourself. That's not the sort of thing that needs to be going on with infant children. If it were female infants, it would be highly illegal. It would be shunned culturally. Nobody would goddamn accept it. It would be scandalous if it happened at all. And there have been a handful of cases in certain ethnic communities, in I think Minnesota especially, where female genital mutilation has been practiced. Doctors lose their licenses and go to jail. You abused a child. The parents go to jail. You're guilty of child abuse. You're religious fanatics. It's crazy. Why do we allow that to happen to boys? I wonder why girls live longer. Could it be that when they come into the world, they're not immediately mutilated? That can have something to do with it. Stress hormones are a bitch. Mopey Hornet, Dave Rubin, the same guy who brought his children to raise with his husband. I don't know anything about that. I just know something about his content creation. I think he's labeled generally as libertarian or libertarian leaning, but that's not a libertarian position, Dave, just to be clear. Saying that because your parents were superstitious, you have to be superstitious too and cause harm to a newborn infant is not a libertarian position. A hill that I'm most willing to die on, by the way. So go ahead and fucking debate me over it if you want to. Silver Tree Consortium moved over to Rumble because of Rekeita. Here is a fiver, Clank. Yeah, we're really growing on Rumble. We're about to hit 115,000 subscribers. Clankdom is getting big on Rumble. Ultramaga721, Juggalos have the gathering. We need to organize a drug up and cut loose party for those with TDS. Each ticket gets you 2 grams of Golden Teacher and a bottle of water. Free your mind. Yeah, I don't do drugs anymore. John Arnold, he claims he is, but he used to work for the Young Turks. Well, I mean, anyone can have a turnaround. It's just that particular opinion is incommensurate with the concept of the NAP. Abusing a child, which is what circumcision is, unless it is medically necessary, violates their personhood. What's the and by the way, a lot of libertarians are anti-abortion. They're like, well, we must defend the fetus's rights. Well, what about little kids? That kid's already born. You don't circumcise them when they're in the womb, but all of a sudden you're allowed to cause harm to them, possibly causing scarring or lifelong complications in the process. That's horseshit. Rafael Mauricio, demonic thinking to mutilate a child's privates. Yeah, if I believed in demons in the Christian sense, yeah, I would label it that way. It's crazy. It's superstitious nonsense. Nobody gives a fucking shit. No dude up in the sky commanded you to cut part of your penis off. Sorry, but that doesn't make any sense. You don't have to be an atheist to comprehend how stupid that sounds. Just saying. Zakali, they can never defend circumcising. It always comes down to we don't want him getting bullied or some hygiene excuse. It's BS. Yeah, exactly. I've heard people, there have been people, I'll debate them on the subject, and they say, well, girls prefer cut men. Who gives a fucking shit what girls prefer? It's not up to them. They're girls. They don't have a penis. They don't have a little wee-wee winky. So their opinion is completely invalid. Who gives a fucking shit? It's the same way when I look at the abortion debate. Yes, I weigh women's opinions as being worth more than men's because they go through pregnancy. Why is it that these morons can't do the same thing on behalf of young boys who get mutilated? That's like saying, well, if men decided, hey, when a girl has a clitorectomy and has her vagina sewn partially up, I'm more into that than I am a big labia or something like that. Does that mean that we have to compel young girls to get circumcised? It'd be for the same purpose. Pure aesthetics. Bullshit. Bunch of fucking horseshit. Silliness and superstition, for which a lot of these people, under their own God's actual judgment, a lot of these people, for mutilating a child, they'd probably go to hell. So enjoy the fire. Aerodynamic 11. I'm glad we didn't do that in the Mexican community. Uncut gang checking in. Yeah, again, as someone who's not cut up, now I'm going to use that pun repeatedly, so thanks for noticing it. Now I'm going to have to return to that. Who doesn't mind being circumcised because it doesn't cause any problems. I sympathize deeply with people for which it does. And it's not a tiny rate. It's not like, 1 in a million chance that you end up having some erection problems. It's like 1 in 100. That is way higher than the number of people who, when uncircumcised, are going to suffer from any problem because they're not. It's called peel back the foreskin and use fucking soap. They've got wiener cleaner soap. You can beat off with it or something like that. Just do that shit. Taking your kid is just barely born, and the first thing that you can do is think about how sinful they are. I don't know. I just think that that's weird. Alden the Blue, Jesus, don't do that Old Testament stuff anymore. American Christians, double down, got it. Well, it didn't start with Christianity. To be clear, in the U.S. sense, circumcision is very uncommon for religious purposes. It's a cultural convention that was born out of the largely secular eugenics movement with Sanger and people like that. The idea was that it would cause people to masturbate less. And the idea was that masturbation caused madness and social disease. That is, that people who played with themselves were more likely to drink, they were more likely to carouse, they got greater pleasure out of sex. It's funny how they said that to begin with. And so that's a problem, because if they enjoy it too much, then they'll become, degenerates or something. And so they started circumcision. Kellogg was involved with this, by the way. Kellogg cereal. You know, that shit that a lot of people shovel into their kids' bodies, causing even more harm than circumcision because it's all a bunch of goddamn filler and bullshit. Yeah, that Kellogg was involved with that too. And they convinced people that they should circumcise because they wanted a cleaner race. They wanted people to act cleanly. It's the exact same movement that led to other things. People shaving their beards. Beards in the 19th century, overwhelmingly common in U.S. society. All of a sudden, clean shaven became fashionable. Men were considered masculine if they had long hair in the 19th century. All of a sudden, no, that's a throwback. Those are dirty hicks out there. And they don't shower and stuff like that. No, actually, you should be bald or have short hair. All of these things happened contemporary around the same exact time, and only in the United States. Never happened in Europe, never became a thing. I wonder why. And they made a lot of money doing it too. Fire and brimstone ministers got involved. They made a lot of money as well. It's like the prohibition was tied in with it. The idea was that women didn't want their husbands to get drunk because, then they would act up. And the ministers didn't want them to spend their money on whiskey because they're supposed to be tithing. And so they made more money. Suffrage movement was also tied into the same thing, believe it or not. So, yeah. Yeah, CB, circumcised penises. It's what girls prefer. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. But who cares? They don't have penises. Anyway, now that I've rambled about penises for the last 10 minutes, we'll check Pixel Planet briefly. I'll probably go offline. We work through all the news stories, but I mean, that is a humorous subject. I would like to debate Dave Rubin on that, though, and really confront him over that, because that's not libertarianism. We can have a debate separately over abortion, because I think he's anti-abortion and how libertarian that is, but I don't think that he has a leg to stand on with regards to Gentiles circumcising people for aesthetic reasons. Apache Senpai, the Kellogg cereal was also made to suppress sexual urges by making a cereal so bland. No joke. Yes, the military, by the way, also experimented with this throughout time using saltpeter as an additive in foods. It was believed that that would stymie an erection. They experimented with this. There are tales about MREs from the Vietnam period being spiked with materials that would make you less horny as well. That, I believe, was shown to be false, and we have plenty of Vietnam-era MREs left over. I'm sure they've done testing, and nobody seems to have found anything wrong with them. I don't know. Vietnam-era, I had hot chocolate from 1971 on one occasion. It was the best fucking hot chocolate I've ever had, so... And don't even get me started on how much better the coffee is after it's been sitting in a bag for 50 years. I wish I'd get more of it. Alejandro Munoz, cheers on what you're saying about women's opinion. I want to pass your wisdom on to incels. Please don't please women in trying to court them. Well, I mean, you want to be pleasing to the person that you're trying to court. Otherwise, you're not going to be courting them for very long. I just think that when it comes to an irreversible medical decision, it should be solely up to the individual, not the parents, not prospective girlfriends, not a fucking priest or a rabbi or an imam or something like that. It's that's not a libertarian position in any way, shape, or form, and I'm scratching my head. And Dennis Prager there too. What the fuck is that prick's problem? He's endorsing the same concept. Well, it's important that we continue this long-standing tradition of causing pain to a person who's less than an hour old. Psychophantic, the beard thing also at least partially came from the use of chemical weapons in World War I. Yes, that is the other point. It's easier to fit a gas mask over your face when you don't have facial hair. This is also why the Hitler mustache apparently became popular. A long mustache, previously, like in the pre-First World War period, a lot of German men, they had long mustaches. It was fashionable. So they'd be more like this, but even longer. They started shaving it down to just being a little mustache because then the gas mask would fit better. This appears to have been where Hitler got his particular facial coif from. He was effectively showing off the fact that he was a World War I vet. That is why that iconic mustache is almost never worn today, which is pretty funny. Yeah, some people are claiming that clankers are raiding. To Pixel Planet chat, if any of you are watching, we are not responsible for the fact that the Turks are currently being attacked. I have ordered people not to attack them. Just to be clear, if other factions are mad at them and want to dogpile them, that has nothing to do with Clankdom. We're solely focused on Africa at the moment, actually. We're going to build an even better Ouroboros and clank on at peace with the whole world. We are a wise African tribe, and we don't get into all of that European imperialism stuff. We have oil and mangoes and shit, you know, fuck that. Yeah, Clankdom is not raiding anyone. Getting into the game. Anyway, I think that I'm going to go offline now. Much as I would like to do the TikTok shuffle dance or something like that, I'll do the brown sugar shuffle for a decreasing audience. If I were to do that, I'm sure that that's what it would be. And yeah, we have 1,500 people watching on Rumble, almost 3,500 on YouTube. Good stream. But I will go offline now. We will be ordering out sushi tonight. Yes, I don't have to cook anything. I'm too fucking tired, and I also have another call that I have to go on in, I don't know, like an hour or something like that. Rumble related. So, yeah, that's about all. Penis out.